Let's go.
Welcome to the SOULFAM Podcast, where we expand your personal universe. I'm Diana Marquetta, and in each episode, SOULFAM co-founder, co-creator Lexi Strummer-Solden and I interview the world's most rising and longtime experts in consciousness, spirituality, entertainment, healing, and science. From Earth's dimensions and dimensions way, way beyond. On the SOULFAM Podcast, our frequencies are high and your heart chakras will open as these powerful voices of today share cutting-edge research, profound experiences, and valuable knowledge for your world in this out-of-this-world, thought-provoking, envelope-pushing interviews that could only take place right here on the SOULFAM Podcast. Welcome to the SOULFAM Podcast. I'm Diana Marquetta. Please remember to like and subscribe. Today, we welcome John Kessenich. He's the Executive Director of the Academy for Guided Imagery. Super fortunate to have John come on today to talk with us about his experience with consciousness, his own journey into consciousness. He has been a body worker for the last 15 years and is now Executive Director for an academy that will change the way you manifest, the way you see yourself, and have a deeper understanding of how perhaps you as a person came together. Would that be accurate, John?
Yeah, I think that's a great way of putting it. I think one of the most unique things about the Academy and what we teach is actually a different way for you as a conscious person to relate to your subconscious self.
So explain that. So I, as a conscious person, how do I relate to my subconscious self, which is often hidden? It's something I'm not necessarily always aware of. I want to think I'm conscious, but that doesn't necessarily mean I am.
Absolutely. And I think this is something that people are on the forefront of discovering, and science, like we're poking at it all the time, and we're kind of getting all of these like partial reveals of like realizing how interconnected the subconscious and conscious are, and we're craving this connection between the conscious and subconscious. For people who are maybe less familiar, your subconscious is what's responsible for keeping you alive. It's all these processes that happen that you are not conscious of. You cannot consciously control. You're not consciously aware of. So you talk about your heartbeat, for example, right? You cannot consciously stop or start your heartbeat. You can't just say stop and your heartbeat stops. Breathing is another one, right? We breathe unconsciously all the time. And there's how many processes are there in the body as far as a biological mechanism? So there's all of these processes that happen inside at a cellular level, at a tissue level, at a muscular level, at a systems level. So there's millions of these processes. You are a functioning organism independent of your consciousness. As this is a piece of your subconscious is kind of your functioning biology and as an organism. I would say another piece of your subconscious is your vitality, your passion. The thing that I think about is like, if you have a conscious and subconscious, if you've ever seen the movie Pleasantville, it's a black and white movie. For the whole time, it kind of goes back into like the 50s, and it's like, everybody has a white picket fence and the houses are like perfect and everything. It's a black and white movie. This is what the conscious mind is kind of like, where it's like, it has rationality, it has bounds, it has rules, it has words, it has structures, it has all these things that kind of make it tidy. And then in that movie, when somebody brings emotion, there's no emotion in the movie. There's no conflict. But there's a moment where, and I haven't seen it in a while, but I think it's like this girl's heart gets broken. Something happens. People go where they're not supposed to. Something starts to break. This emotion starts flowing, and the color flows in to the town. It goes from this black and white movie to this, everything starts to be more and more in color. That's how I think of the subconscious too, is that it allows life to become colorful. It's our passions, it's our emotions, it's our vitality. It's everything that we can't help but be inspired around. It's like inspiration isn't conscious. It's this feeling that comes through you and moves through you.
Huh. That's interesting. I've actually never heard it quite described like that. And that's actually super helpful and helps me sort of compartmentalize things to have a deeper understanding. How can we as a client how do we get involved, and what are some of the typical sort of issues that people hope to resolve? Is it success? Is it career? Is it family? Is it relationships? Or is it more serious? I mean, these are all serious things, but is it also medical issues like traumatic brain injury, ADHD, autism, things like that?
What's cool about the conscious and subconscious is that while it's helpful to think of them separately, you can't really separate them, right? So it's like, as a person, you are always going around with your conscious and subconscious self, and you just can't help that. That's just always happening. Because of that, the great thing is that there's no realm that working with your subconscious won't help. Because what happens is, I think a good way to think about it is, if there's ever been something that you wanted to do, but you haven't had the motivation to do, somebody wants to lose weight or stop smoking or pick up a new habit, or it could be anything, but something that you want to do, but it's hard for you to do for whatever reason. You think about it and you're like, well, why is that hard for me to do? I want to do it, right? Well, you do and you don't. Your conscious mind wants you to do it, but subconsciously you have resistance. This is what stops us from being able to consciously do something, and then our life just changes. Because if our conscious and subconscious were so tightly aligned and really on the same team, you could make a conscious decision and your subconscious would fall into alignment with that. But almost majority of people, their conscious and subconscious aren't aligned like that, which isn't saying that they're doing something wrong. It's just that it's very normal for the subconscious to have a different reaction, because most people don't have interactive, awakened connection between their subconscious and conscious. And even if they do, they still probably won't be aligned all the time. So that was kind of a long-winded answer, but
no, it's actually great. So I'm like, wait, how do I align then? How do I connect the two? How do I even be aware that my subconscious is what's happening with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are multiple ways to do it, and you probably do some of them already. This is kind of outside of the scope of the academy, what the academy does, but I think it's helpful as a base layer of understanding between conscious and subconscious. We all have been taught to do is breathe, right? So I talked about earlier, breathing is a subconscious thing that happens. If you don't think about breathing for the rest of your life, you're still going to breathe. However, it's an interesting interface because you can consciously breathe. So you can stop breathing and then you can choose to breathe. So now here, breathing is this cool thing because it bridges the gap between conscious and subconscious. So it's a subconscious thing that's happening all the time, but you can control it consciously. So what meditation does, a ton of meditation is just like, listen, all you need to do is breathe. Just follow this, 4 in, 8 out, or whatever it is. There's parasympathetic activation. There's all this stuff that you can go into with breathing, and that's all valid. But regardless, even if you did none of that and all you said was in and out and you just followed your breath, well, now you're syncing your conscious and your subconscious. And that's a very fundamental base, but also extremely effective way of engaging your conscious and subconscious. For anybody who doesn't do breath work or something like that, if you can take 10 minutes, if you can take an hour, it's amazing. If you can take 10 minutes in your day, even 1 minute in your day, or chunks throughout the day, and really just sync your mind with your breath, that's already giving yourself a more present and connected relationship between your conscious and your subconscious.
Wow, I did not realize that. I do a lot of breath work myself when I'm working out or when I'm needing a space to calm down in or to have clear thought in. I will take a moment away and just do a few breath exercises just to regulate my nervous system so I can sort of think clearly. It didn't occur to me that I'm making that connection between the conscious and subconscious.
Yeah, and then other things that you can do, something like free writing. Free writing is another thing that I think is really great, where, and in the book, The Artist's Way, that was the first time I really got into it. But, Julie Cameron, she talks about the morning pages where you just start writing and you write 3 pages. And it's hard. Like when you first start doing that, it's really hard, but you just start writing. And the goal is to let your writing go faster than your mind can go. Or you just let go of your mind and your hand just keeps writing. And when you do that, then you're not thinking about what to write anymore. You're unfiltered writing. For me, if I don't know what to write, I just start with blah, 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 blah.
Do you really?
And I just go from there. Oh yeah. I just write, I literally will just write blah, blah, blah. Because the important thing is that my hand is moving. Basically, none of it's important, especially the first especially the first page, page and a half, 2 pages. We are, as people now, we're so mental. So like we're so caught up in our minds. So it's like the first 2 pages is just trying to like get past all of that. So if stuff pops up in the mind, sure, write it, or like don't write it or whatever, but just keep going until, and you might have experienced this in meditation before, but until you break through this mental wall. And okay, I'm released into this space of like expression or feeling or like embodiment. And to me, this is another way of allowing the subconscious to express, because anything can just come up, and we get past our like mental control wall, then you're able to kind of expand into your subconscious. And that's developing a relationship between the conscious and subconscious at a further level, and breathing, rewriting, and then really developing a relationship with your subconscious, which is something that we do at the Academy. We help people do. It's aspects of your subconscious, but some people will call their subconscious a name entirely. I've gone through phases where I write to my subconscious like multiple times every day. And now my subconscious is like, well, you haven't written to me in a little while. And I'm like, you're right, I haven't. It's absolutely this thing where it's like you can cultivate this relationship. And if you understand what the subconscious is responsible for, bringing this passion, this energy, this vitality to life, then you can actually recruit it to align with you. So you're like, hey, I'm this conscious being. You're amazing. You do all this amazing stuff. I love you so much. We're this amazing team. I know the power that you have because I felt it in this experience, this experience, this experience. If you start telling that stuff to your subconscious, that brings up some juice. You can feel it. You can start getting inspired. Your subconscious starts getting excited about it. And you say, listen, help me with this, this, and this. This is what we're after. And that's what your subconscious craves. It craves this direction for it to be able to channel its magic into this direction.
That's genius. I've never heard it described like that. And I've never heard that technique.
It's, I would say it's effective. It's borrowed from a couple of different places. For sure. Definitely the understanding of the low self, the middle self, and the high self from the Huna people in Hawaii. There's so much there. And I think our misalignment between conscious and subconscious just causes us so much strife in daily life.
It does.
Relating it back to the Academy, kind of the beauty of what we do is that we give. So I guess to rewind, what we practice at the Academy is interactive guided imagery. This technique that was invented in the 1980s by Dr. David Bressler and Dr. Marty Rossman. And what can this address? There's this guy named O. Carl Simonton, and he was getting really good results with having cancer patients visualize their white blood cells as like horses going through their bloodstream, like fighting off the cancer cells. And so he was having them visualize that, like going to a peaceful place and visualizing this. And the results were great. And so Dr. Bressler, Dr. Rossman got together with another guy named Irving Oyl, and they were using some of Carl Jung's ideas around active imagination, and then multiple other things around subconscious, or at least the understandings of psychology in the subconscious up to that point. And they kind of put together this framework and experimented with it, and came out on the other side. And there was an immense amount of interest, and the Academy was actually very big in the 90s and early 2000s. And then it kind of dropped off as more and more stuff transitioned to the internet. The techniques that they used are just these like really simple, effective techniques that allow clients to gain access to their subconscious in this really unique way. And so for clients who have never done it before, what I tell them is that it's halfway between a dream and a really deep meditation. So it's like, but you're conscious too. So it's like you're kind of in this like hypnagogic state where you're like, it feels pretty real, but it's not real. But like it's like this playground that you get to interact in. The craziest thing about it is that it works in some way. Like when I explain to people, they're like, okay, but like, what if nothing comes up? Or like, you have me visualize something. So in general, what we do is we have people go to a place where they feel peaceful, safe, and calm. And then there's a number of things to do there. And we have about 15 specific techniques that we do, and then, dozens more variations on that. In general, you welcome an image in, and it can be related to a struggle that you're going through, something that you want, advice that you want, whatever it is. and you dialogue with the image. And so you, as a conscious person, are asking a question to your image of something. Your eyes are closed. You're dialoguing with your own image. And most people are like, my image isn't going to say anything. Like, what if my image doesn't say anything? And I'm like, that's no problem. Your image can say nothing. And that's one of the coolest parts. 95% of people's images do say something. And they're shocked. People are just like, I had no idea that like this was inside of me. I had no idea like that, or that this image would appear, or that, this person would appear, or that I would have this insight. And it's incredible. And what it does is it gives people access to this untapped well of wisdom, power, knowledge, perspective, and like expression that their conscious mind doesn't give them, I want to say permission, because it's not quite right. It's like your brain has kind of like walled off those neural pathways in some way.
Right. Because we sort of have our busy monkey mind, and, throughout the day I'm on the phone, or I'm driving, or if I'm not doing something, I'll look at my Instagram, or I'll, look at a text or whatever. I don't give myself the space to make that connection either.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And actually, that's probably more true than what I said. I think that's totally right, is that the wisdom of the subconscious comes through when you give it that space. Like in meditation, if you ever had a really good meditation and had insights afterwards or during or anything like that, anything that's given your conscious mind a break, even after sleep, that can happen where you feel better rested, have a different insight. When your conscious mind is allowed to give space, then the subconscious can kind of come through and give you the wisdom if you're able to receive it.
Right. I find that really interesting in that I understand the first couple of things you mentioned weren't things that the Academy necessarily does on a regular practice, but we can do, and that our audience will love that. And that kind of gives you the entrance into this new way of feeling or overcoming a challenge or achieving something. So it's a nice tiptoe into what the Academy offers. How do you get deeper into this? And what are some of the big challenges? I mean, is it an aha moment and then everything's cool, or is it a process?
Can you expand on that a little bit? So do you mean the big challenges that like people face as people, or we face as guides, or
that you face as guides in working with your clients? Because I'm sure in those first few sessions, it feels like, wow, I've really made a big breakthrough. But sort of like everything, whether it's losing weight or playing basketball or learning something new, you sort of plateau. Then it gets harder, or you come to a space where I don't know how to deal with this aspect and get to the next place that I want to.
Yeah, I think one of the things that is the most challenging is inertia. And it's one of what I think is one of the most powerful forces on the planet, is that, the law of inertia is objects in motion tend to stay in motion, objects at rest tend to stay at rest. So when you're used to being in a pattern, you'll stay in that pattern. So like you said, even if there's something revelational in the first week or 2 weeks of guided imagery, and there's plenty of examples of this, but, even in myself, this has happened to me plenty of times where something will be great for a week or 2 weeks, and I'll be talking to my subconscious, or I'll be, interacting in this way that feels really, really good and perfect. And then my inertia hasn't been established as that. It's almost like that's like a mini inertial thing, but my bigger inertia in that life form, in that life stage, is something else. And so if you can continue sessions working around a particular issue for like 6 weeks, to me, that's usually, it's not like that's like guaranteed for a breakthrough or something like that. But if you can keep coming to sessions, it's really helpful, because I think what you said is spot on, that the first week people are like, this is amazing, incredible. Like I have all these revelations. Second week, they're like, yes, like now I'm in it. I'm fired up. Like, we're doing in through this thing. And then depending where, third, fourth, or fifth week, they can be like, okay, like, yeah, I'm feeling good, but then I also have this other thing, but which is a perfect thing. It's because what you're doing, you're peeling away an onion. So it's like you've peeled away the first layer and you're like, oh, great. Like, I've done all this stuff, but like there's another layer there. So when the resistance comes up again, it's like, okay, this is like, instead of thinking like, oh man, I'm just like back to the beginning now. No, it's like, now this is your deeper layer that now we have to poke at. And now we can go in and do imagery at this layer, which is going to create a different image and give you a different access and perspective in your subconscious, which is amazing.
Huh. That's super cool. You got to do the hard work. I mean, you have to be willing to go do, walk through the mud.
Oh yeah. I mean, to me, it's like none of it's worth it. If you're not willing to go through the mud, then you only get the first layer of the onion. The treasure you get's worth how far you dig, how dirty you get. In all the mythology, your greatest treasure is behind your deepest fear. Which the coolest thing to me about guided imagery, people ask sometimes like, how's it different than hypnotherapy or talk therapy or different things like this? In hypnotherapy, it's similar in some ways because you put yourself into this kind of hypnagogic state, which is very similar to the state that we put people in. But the guide, the hypnotist is directing you. So like your That's subconscious is being directed by the guide. That's what we call like directive guiding. Interactive guided imagery is where you are interacting with your own subconscious. So the guide is facilitating your journey through your subconscious mind. So it's about your interaction with yourself, not your guide's interaction with you. So I'm not trying to fix you. I'm trying to allow you to fix yourself. Connect better with yourself. In talk therapy, you can get access to some of these similar things. To me, the issue is that in many cases, not in all cases, but in many cases, the therapist is trying to do something. And it's not for the therapist to do ever. It's always for the client to do. And that's what I think is really the beauty of interactive guided imagery is like, it's you open this space for the client. And then it's like, now this is your world. This is your playground. I'm here to help you. I'm here to be the referee, like help you make rules and make sure that you're safe. Because I know how to make you safe in this space. But this is you. This is all you. And now you get to talk to yourself. The amazing thing, like to your point of have to dig in the mud, this is what's so cool is like, if your subconscious is real mad at you, depending on what you're visualizing, it's just going to tell you, or it's not going to talk to you. It's going to be like super mad or upset or what. And again, there's a lot of different styles. So it's like, it's very easy to give people a very pleasant guiding session. So it kind of depends on what people are after too. It's like, you can give people a session where they just feel like one of the best feelings they've ever had for like most of the session. We can do that. Or we can do something where it's more like, okay, let's like really dig at this thing that's really resistant and bothering me. And it's just so cool because as the guide, I don't have to be like trying to get you to bring up something uncomfortable. Your subconscious brings it up by itself and you're the one that's interacting with it. I just ask you what you see and what you feel. And so it's very hands off. And it's like, I just love that it empowers people to have a better relationship with themselves. It's really about you and your subconscious and just giving you the opportunity in the playground and the understanding that it's your inner world. And that's what shapes your entire outer world.
You become the healer. I become the healer
absolutely.
of myself.
Yeah.
So is it effective with trauma as well? As you were talking, I was feeling like there might be sexual trauma. There might be all sorts of things, violence. There might be being assaulted at some point. And I'm curious if trauma is something that you guys seem to encounter a lot, or helping people overcome their trauma.
One of the ways that we address trauma, we probably have three main methods, I'd say, for addressing trauma. One of which is kind of a parts work thing, allowing like two parts of yourself to interact. Another is regression, where we have kind of three levels of regression that we do. One is where you're actually there. One is where you're watching it happen on a screen. And one is where somebody else is telling you about it, but it's all still in your inner world. There's a few things you have to do before interacting with traumas, and making a safe space inside of your head is the first thing that you have to do ever anyways, because it's really important that your baseline is safe, that you're coming at it from a safe baseline. Because if not, then it can get really uncomfortable. And that's why I think guides are really important, is that the guide has to be able to see what your emotional state is so that they can know whether to kind of back you out a little bit or go a little more, and kind of what the right thing is to do. So we set up a safe space, and then you also need to make sure that you have trusted, we call them inner advisors or inner figures, that are kind, wise, loving presences. And the people's inner advisors that they have are just, they're so dynamic, they're so amazing, and they're so unpredictable. It's like you just never know who will come. So like, for example, for me, Two of my main two inner advisors. One is Rafiki from The Lion King, the monkey shaman guy.
Yeah.
Who's just like, he's just like
so
this
cool.
like wise, goofy monkey guy who's just like amazing. And then the other one is this mix between my uncle and this like an old Merlin sage type with like a super long beard.
Mm-hmm.
But people, it can be anything from like, a little ball of light to like a big dragon to like, and people are like, oh yeah, that's like totally made up. But the thing is, everything that you give power to is made up. Like like if you say like you're afraid of a snake or you're afraid of intimacy or afraid of like, or you love this or love that, that's all made up too. These are the symbols behind your feelings. These are the symbols behind your subconscious reactions. These are the symbols behind your subconscious patterns. So the symbol that brings you wisdom, trust, and love looks like this, and it doesn't matter what it means to anybody else, because that's what it means to you. That's how it manifests for you. So anyways, we make sure that there's these really safe presences around while we're doing regression, so that if anything happens, because in real life traumas, it's very intense, and usually we start at the first level and make sure the inner advisor is there, and we can kind of allow this interaction. And if there's anything that the client becomes nervous about, we'd say, okay, listen, talk to your inner advisor, look at your inner advisor, make sure that they feel like it's safe for you to proceed. Incredible how good people's inner advisors are. It's just because it really is their deepest wisdom coming through, and they trust them so implicitly and inherently. And if they don't, then it's not actually an inner advisor, because they don't trust them. It's a very referential thing. If it works, it works in some way.
This sounds like a beautiful journey.
I feel really passionate about it, and so as I said, the Academy kind of teetered off in the 2000s, and then I got involved about 5 years ago. I took the training program because I was interested in integrating imagery with massage. And I was like, what would that be like? Because I'm working with the body, and so how can I integrate imagery with this with body work? I knew that this was the best imagery program. We say that we're the best imagery program. We really are. We've been around for 40 years. We've trained people in I don't know, 50 different countries. We've trained over like 5,000 guides. And to me, it's like the program is just, it's unbelievable. So I didn't know what I was getting into. I was just like, oh, I'll learn from the best, like imagery stuff. But when I got in the program, I just didn't think it was going to be that good. I didn't think that the understanding of the conscious and subconscious were going to be so clear and like well compartmentalized and well studied, because I don't think there's that much good conscious subconscious work. And I thought they did it fantastically. So I was blown away, and I was like, I just want to get involved. And the president, who was Dr. Bressler, who still teaches with us, which is amazing. He's fantastic, but he's one of the founders of the Academy. So so to me right now, it's a special time because you can still learn from Dr. Bressler if you do a certification program. But this stuff is just way deeper than I imagined. In my cohort, we had 6 people, and we were doing training sessions. Everything's online, so it's a virtual training program. And we did virtual training sessions. And the preceptorship is what we call them. So we have 2 preceptorships. They're both these live practicums that we do online. And it's like 8 hours a day. So it's really long, this 3-day weekends where there's 8 hours, 8 hours, 8 hours. It's super intense. You guide people, you receive imagery, and you observe. And it's all really valuable. So we had 6 accents, 6 people with 6 different accents doing imagery for the first times. And I think 4 out of the 6 of us were crying in the first day of just these during our sessions. How could this work be so powerful that people doing it for the first time with different accents over Zoom are in tears, like during this work? And I was just like, this is special. I have to continue with this. And Dr. Bressel was looking for somebody to help him manage it and expand it. And so I feel really passionately about getting it out. It's like, I would love to be able to get it to people with cancer or HIV. My mom did research with kids with HIV in hospitals and energy medicine with them. Cool. I'd love to make a study that integrates something like that, or even not, just having a free clinic. So that's what I'm hoping to do is bring guides into hospitals and into other places where IGI is needed. We haven't talked about like physiological indicators, but it can reduce pain, it can reduce stress, it can reduce anxiety, it can reduce depression, discomfort, it can increase autoimmune function. It does things that like massage, energy healing, medicine do, but you don't have to like send it to somebody. From here, I can train somebody in Africa to do this. I can train somebody in Asia to do this. I can train somebody in Europe to do this. This is I don't need to produce it. You can train people to do it. And so what we're needing right now is we need more people to do research on IGI so that we can get funding to then get programs like this out, and then also just more guides to then be able to offer it to local hospitals and universities and different things like that.
Yeah, I was curious if it was effective with alcoholism, drug use, addictions.
Habit breaking, and not all of that, not all of drug use is habit breaking. So I don't mean to like loop those together necessarily, but drug and alcohol counselors, previously in the 80s, we only were open to psychologists taking the program. It was only open to psychologists. And then it was open to drug and alcohol counselors, nurses, and psychologists. Now it's open to everybody. One of our techniques we call grounding, and that's one of the best ways to kind of form a new habit. Instead of habit break, Dr. Bressler always says like you don't break habits. Like habits don't break. And so he says, so then how do you stop doing something that you don't want to do? You replace it. You can replace the habit, but you can't break the habit. So, if every day you go to smoke, after breakfast or something like that, well, instead of smoking, you do something else. You have to set yourself up to do a different thing. Instead of not doing something, you have to do something else. So you replace that, and that's how you change a habit. So we have this modality or technique called grounding, where you walk through what you want to do, and it can be through a full day or just one sequence or whatever. But let's say it was smoking, something like that. It's like every day after my coffee, I have a cigarette. So if you wanted to stop doing that, you do this grounding exercise where we actually do quite a bit of work before the session in a grounding session, talk through it and see what obstacles might come up, what might make you want to smoke, what you think you want to do instead. And then you go into your subconscious and you just walk through that and you imagine all these obstacles coming up and like what you would do. So, if you're like, oh, I'm going to have a cup of orange juice instead of that. Well, it's like, okay, what if you don't have orange juice? Okay, then I'm going to do this. What if I see a cigarette on the way to the orange juice? Well, then I'm going to do this. What if I, had too much orange juice and I'm like sick of it? What am I going to do now? So it's like you try to poke holes everywhere that you can, but then you're like, no matter what, I'm doing this. And what that does is that allows your subconscious to get on board. Because what you find in this habit thing, when people have a really hard time breaking a habit, is that your subconscious doesn't believe you anymore. It's like when you're like, I want to break this habit, your subconscious is like, no, you don't. No, you don't. Which makes sense because you've tried, and when you haven't done it, it kind of goes back. But in this grounding technique, if you can bring your subconscious, if you can show your subconscious, in this situation, because your subconscious is kind of like, well, what if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? And if you can make solutions for all of this, it realizes like, no, you're like ready to move forward despite all of these things. And it's not to say that gets you 100% there, but it gets you way more there than if you were just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do this thing.
Yeah, that's really interesting. When you're starting a new business, when you're starting a new plan, whether it's exercise or, I don't know, school, or, you're moving to a new place, it's like you get so far, and entrepreneurs will say this too, is, you get so far with things and then it's sort of like, no, you're not. You're good a couple of weeks in, maybe 2 or 3 weeks in, and then it's like you sink.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's really interesting. I think that's how strong our subconscious is so interesting. I mean, we want to think we're in control, but we're really not.
Yeah. I think that's a great way of putting it. And my theory is that our subconscious is I don't say pissed about that, but I'd say like the fact that that we tend to give so little credence to our subconscious is, no, let me say it the reverse way, because that's actually what's true, is that the more praise and credit that we can give to our subconscious, the more warm and fuzzy it feels about itself. And, there's so much talk had a great talk a couple of years ago with a buddy of mine, and he was like, "Yeah, my therapist says I need to have more self-love, but like I don't really know what that means."
Right.
It's like we talk about self-love all the time, and it's huge. It's like, yeah, and to me, this is it. Is you giving love to your subconscious, giving credit where it's due. Once you can actually make the step to personify your subconscious and be like, oh no, this is a separate being that I love and lives with me, and we're doing things together, and I can't live without it, and it can't live without me. So we're like we're like sharing this neighborhood together. We're roommates here. And once you start giving it warm and fuzzies, once you start giving it love, once you start being like, man, you did so great today. You did this. Like tomorrow, I want to work on this, and this. Like, let's go. Let's do this together. My uncle, who's one of my mentors and who understands this better than anybody I've ever known, always talks about your subconscious as like your little brother or little sister. So you have to like empower them. And then once you empower them, it's like they grow up and they get, all of this really juicy energy, and they I don't say they get better than you, but it's like they develop into themselves. And once you guys are working together, I actually have two daughters, and like when they're fighting apart from each other, it's like, they can't get anything. It's just a mess. It's like nothing can move forward. But when they're doing things together, it's like there's nothing that they can't do. And that's really what a conscious and subconscious relationship is like. It's like, how do you pump up yourself? I mean, we have this thing of like, who's your hype man? It's like, you should be your own hype man. And if you could hype your subconscious up, your subconscious will then hype you up. And then you're just like this team of feeding each other this really amazing juice. It's like, that's what you want to be doing.
In the spiritual community, we talk a lot about manifestation. We talk a lot about working with the shadow. Is really the subconscious part of our shadow.
Yeah. So I would say the shadow is part of our subconscious, I think is what I would say. Because I would say the shadow is an aspect of our subconscious. Although I will say, I'm not that I'm the most versed person on the shadow, so I'd be happy to somebody would be like, you're way wrong about that. But I think of the subconscious as a very expansive, large, massive, magical being. And I think the shadow is a piece of that. And a lot of times our shadow has to do with the wounding of our subconscious. So the places where our subconscious has been wounded, and this, I believe, also can even be ancestrally, right? So even where we may have been ancestrally wounded, our subconscious, if you think about it and we go back to the biological piece of it, if our subconscious really has a lot to do with our biology, and our biology is from our parents, and that carries cellularly, energetically, and in our DNA. So those unconscious wounds are energetically carried through the cells of our parents, grandparents, all this stuff. That's being carried into our bodies. So I would say that those energy signatures are like a piece of our subconscious, but by no means necessarily the whole thing. And that the interactive guided imagery is one of the best ways to explore shadow, again, because of how you can have your inner advisor, you can be in a safe space, and you can take, I would call it we call them like manageable bites of your shadow. Now you can receive pieces of it, but while not having to get overwhelmed or consumed by them.
Right.
And you can go as deep as you want to. It's not like you can't, but it's just that I think, I think for some people it can be overboard if you get in too quick.
That's interesting. Yeah, we talk a lot about those kinds of things in the spiritual community, and I know, as you were saying, those are aspects of ourselves. And I was thinking, well, gee, if I solve this problem, but I'm still going to have this other problem. So, there's different feeds into our subconscious. It's interesting to realize it's a bigger space than we give it credit for.
The thing I said earlier about aligning your conscious with your subconscious, this is what I think is the key to all of this manifestation. And if you look at Napoleon Hill, or maybe he wrote The Secret. So I know Esther and Jerry Hicks, they did a lot of like law of attraction stuff, which is the start of a lot of manifestation. And they talk so much about, getting yourself into a place where your feeling like aligns with what you want, or your feeling aligns with whatever the outcome is. So if you're like, you want to be rich or whatever, like be abundant, but you're like, oh, I don't feel rich, so you're unhappy about it. It's like you're not going to manifest it from that state. But if you feel like, oh my gosh, this abundance and this connection with that end result feeling, then you attract that. This is exactly what a subconscious and conscious thing is if your conscious is like, okay, subconscious, this is what we want. Let's get excited about it. What they're teaching is this same thing. It's how do you make your subconscious get on board with what you want? And the way to do it is not by putting your subconscious down, is not by putting negative thoughts into your mind. It's by putting the positive thoughts into your mind, by feeding your subconscious positive things. That gets the magic of your subconscious going, allowing it to flow into whatever channels that your conscious mind chooses. To me, that's what manifestation actually is directing conscious attention somewhere, allowing subconscious magical energy to flow. I also believe that from the 3 self model, I also believe there's a high self that can also have intervention. But I believe that the majority of manifestation, from my perspective, is a channeled focus from the conscious mind, and then the magic of the subconscious opening into that channel.
Cool. It sounds like something to really explore, and it sounds super effective.
What I like to say to people about imagery and working with your subconscious is that there's no guarantees on what will happen, as I think with anything in life. Mm-hmm. But you're always tipping the scale in your favor. Mm-hmm. And that's what you get to choose with your conscious mind and how you direct it. And the more you do it, the more it's going to tip in your favor. So it's like if people come into an imagery session or working with their subconscious and they're like, oh, sure, I want to be rich, or I want to have more money. And it doesn't work in the beginning or whatever, they come up with some obstacles, and then they, are like, well, that didn't work. To me, that's not how it works. It's really about creating this interconnection with yourself, which then allows you to live from this place where you are more likely to get what you want because you're aligned.
Right.
When you feel this inner alignment, that's what attracts the thing that you want, because your whole being it's not just your conscious mind is saying you want this. Your whole being is sending out signals like, this is what I want. This is what you're attracting back. So in my experience, is extremely effective, but that, I really love to under promise and over deliver as much as possible. So I would say, I would never guarantee anything, but I would say that the more you develop it, the better it goes. And I don't know of something that's more effective than working with the subconscious. I don't think that there's actually almost anything more important in life than developing your connection with yourself.
It feels as though this is a worthy and fulfilling path.
Yeah, I would say absolutely. I invite anybody to try it. So what we're trying to do at the Academy too is we're going to be offering a monthly free clinic where we'll just do probably short sessions for people. We'll do like 20-minute sessions probably for people, or 30-minute sessions in like an hour and a half, and we'll get some guides together. And I want to just have a free clinic where people can drop in virtually. And then we'll also do a monthly, and we'll do a monthly informational session as well for people who are interested in becoming guides. And awesome. Those are new things that we're starting in 2026.
And then you don't need to have an educational background. I don't need a PhD.
No, you don't need any of this background, because again, we're not diagnosing anything. We're making sure that you're safe in your inner landscape, which is great. The thing that we do, Dr. Bressler, really amazing guy. He taught at the UCLA School of Medicine. He taught psychiatry at the UCLA School of Medicine. So he's a PhD and a psychologist. And Dr. Rossman's an MD. Their setup of everything was, geared towards psychologists at first. Mm-hmm. And then once they opened it up to everybody, they were like, okay, we want to make sure that we're kind of clearly defining ethical scope. So we do a good job of that in the program, making sure that on intake with people, we discuss, mental health issues that are different people are comfortable with. But it is nice that it's open to anybody.
Yeah, super cool. So tell us how do we get involved? How can we get in touch? Do you offer Are you offering these sessions that you mentioned on the website? How do we get involved?
Yeah. So our website is acadgi.com, acadgi.com, or you can go to academyforguidedimagery.com. It'll also go there. And we have our certifications programs up there on the website. If you want to find a certified guide, there's a directory there. You can go there, click on the guides and find a certified guide there. And you can find us on Instagram. You can email us also, academyforguidedimagery@gmail.com. Yeah, and if anybody's interested in that, they can email me at academyofguidedimagery@gmail.com. And
sounds cool. What is your goal for the Academy?
My goal for the Academy is it's a multi-pronged approach, but it's really to give more people this tool, give more people access to this tool. I think the research behind it is a big thing for me. And so I've thought of personally doing it, but I don't know that that's right. I really want to find the researchers to do it because I think that there's a number of different places that it could be used. But I really want to be able to draw on other kind of consciousness work and be able to kind of blend it in, because I think even where we are with the Academy, and I think we're in a really great place, because I think we're still at the tip of the iceberg of understanding our subconscious and our relationships to the subconscious. But I think we have a pretty good entry point where we are. And so I'd like to keep expanding that, experimenting with different techniques, collaborating with other psychologists, and then expanding.
Sure you will. Is there anything you want to be sure that our audience knows about that can help benefit them, or a technique that they can use to sort of get themselves comfortable with the whole concept of guided imagery?
Sports and art are also places where our conscious and subconscious meet, and performance, singing, like things where you have to kind of create, but you're using your body or your creativity as well. So I think being in those spaces and allowing yourself to be free in those spaces, I think it can also be a really great union between your conscious and subconscious. But as far as imagery goes, one thing that anybody can do is that you can close your eyes and you can take a couple breaths, just like a big breath. You can let your body relax and just feel any stress and tension melting away from your body. And as it starts to feel heavier and more relaxed, you can imagine that you're in a peaceful place that's outdoors, that's beautiful, it's daytime, it's comfortable, it's safe. And then you can just be there and look around and enjoy that space. And being there, you can stay there as long as you want to, whenever you want to, and it's yours and it's nobody else's. And if you want to go a step further than that, you can even invite a kind, wise, and loving presence come towards you, and you can just see who they are, and you can dialogue with them. And that's a bit of a piece of the start of interacting with your subconscious. I think it's really hard for people to do this on their own. I hope like if anybody does this on their own and it works well for them, I think that's great, and it can work. It's a lot easier to do it with a guide for some reason. But I think at least the beginning stage of finding a peaceful place, I find that people can do by themselves. And just doing that can help you relax and actually change your physiology, change your nervous system response for even just a short period of time. And I think that's invaluable.
Cool. I was ready to stay there. Nice. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate you coming out or being on during an ice storm and sharing a lot of beautiful knowledge that is super effective for people wanting to sort of move into the next level of their lives or overcome something that has seemed impossible.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure talking. I hope I didn't talk your ear off too much.
You didn't. You offered a lot of beautiful things. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the SOULFAM Podcast. Be sure to tune in to every episode where we dive into a different rabbit hole of the known and unknown to empower you in conscious living and exploration of the greater universe. We hope you leave each episode with a little stardust in your hair and inspiration in your heart. With love from your SOULFAM.